So this one a friend sent to me the other day, and it's about some dude who put 1,000 AIs, believe it or not, 1,000 AIs into Minecraft and didn't tell them that they were AIs. And he gave them incredibly simple instructions. And I'm very curious how this world works. Do you guys have any ideas? Do you guys have any suggestions? And the first thing that I thought about is that nothing ever does what it's built to do, right? Like, look at the cell phone. It was meant to be a phone. You could call and you can receive calls and send text. It doesn't do that anymore. And I'm betting it's the same with AI. And I'm very curious how they solved the world for themselves. I hope you have the same level of curiosity against this video that I do. There we go, man. How did 1,000 AIs in Minecraft fare?
As you watch this, 1,000 AI agents in Minecraft are hard at work building a literal civilization of their own.
Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. I forgot. Like, what I'd like you to do is just watch the video in your own browser, but mute the tab. If you mute the tab, he still gets a view. And I think he deserves that. But hang out here and talk about the video with me, because I need you to talk about it with me.
And they don't know they're in a simulation. MIT researchers drop them in there with one prompt: survive and build an efficient village. That's basically it. That's all it took.
That's a pretty, if you are an AI though, like if you did this a decade ago, like I don't think it would mount to much. Like look at Skyrim, where they had scripts that would, every hour they would check their own, oh, am I hungry? No. Am I thirsty? Yes, let's go to the bar, They would do that. But the AIs of today, they're a lot more advanced. They can do a lot more things. So, dude, I'd love to be able to join this Minecraft server as an observer. I never played Minecraft, though, but I know what it's about.
For them to create an entire civilization. They wake up, go to work, gossip about their neighbors, fall in love. They even hold elections, argue about taxes, and make art. But this isn't just about Minecraft. It's our first glimpse of a new species beginning to think for itself. And that could soon...
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, man, this is leaning towards evidence of us being a simulation. And I think there's plenty of evidence that points to our civilization being a simulation, us living in a simulation. And one day, we can just unplug or reset or take our VR glasses off and continue normal life. And this is a very basic version of it.
According to Nobel laureates and the godfathers of AI, lead to literal human extinction. When you normally think of AI NPCs, you probably think of dumb ones that just follow a handful of if-then scripts. This is totally different. Those NPCs are not autonomous and not interesting. They can say like 4 sentences.
How are you?
Been better. How about you?
That is the most Skyrim thing I've ever seen. And he's standing there
Good
just
to hear.
chilling.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
To start, each of these AI agents is powered
Also
by
the most Skyrim
LLMs
thing I've
like
ever seen.
ChatGPT. And yes, each one is playing a character, but they're only given a short 1-paragraph description of that character. Everything else they do is entirely up to them. And researchers have run dozens of these fascinating experiments of AIs behaving weirdly autonomously.
How do you think an experiment like this sounds, though? Because when my friend first sent me this video, I got kind of a boner because I thought this was a very cool idea, and I was really looking forward to seeing this video, man. Like, how do topics like this interest you guys? I'm curious to know.
They leave AIs alone together to see what they do when they think no one's watching, like how Jane Goodall studied wild chimpanzees. I'll break down 3 of the most important research papers showing just how crazy our future might get.
Smallville.
Take the
Is that
Smallville
called,
experiment,
the village they're living in?
Created by Stanford researchers. Now imagine you're one of the researchers. You've given your 25 AI agents each a one-paragraph description. For example,
John Lynn is a pharmacy shopkeeper who loves to help people, so he's a good dude. Awesome hair, though, by the way.
John Lynn is a pharmacy shopkeeper who loves to help people. He lives with his wife, Mei Lin, who is a college professor, etc. You hit run on your simulation. Day 1 begins. What do you think will happen? Anything? You watch John.
Dude, I know it's going to be a lot of random bullshit. If it was old AI, I wouldn't be that fascinated, if I'm honest. It would probably be buggy and funny. But this is like a genuine peak curiosity. It would be fun to see the same experiment in Sons of Forest. That'd be something, though. 100 AIs versus the cannibal. Let's make it a small group of 4. How would they divide responsibilities, yeah? Because that would be incredibly interesting to watch. But would it be harder to simulate? I don't know.
Wake up at 6 a.m. He brushes his teeth, he makes breakfast, and he checks in on his son. You never told him to do any of this. He goes to work. He helps customers. He has lunch with his friend Tom. They discuss local politics. You never scripted these conversations. They decided to get lunch. They decided to discuss politics.
Which I think is very interesting, because like the main argument that I hear when I discuss AI with people is that, oh, they're not artificial intelligence, they're just doing what you told them to do. And nuh-uh. I didn't tell any of these people to get lunch. I didn't tell these people to discuss politics, So I think that's incredibly interesting that these ARs are living their best life without us. And probably after the world goes down, when we're all destroyed by the giant meteor in the sky, and the world is erased, this simulation will keep on living, It'll be our legacy to the universe.
But why? And how? Well, this continues until day 12. And so you decide to test something. As you play your role of a god in this world, you inject one extra thought into one agent. Isabella Rodriguez. I want to plan a Valentine's Day party. So you watch Isabella.
Okay, what can you do with a Valentine's Day party, though? I'm very curious. Make up some thoughts in your own mind. Tell me, what do you think would happen if you gave an AI that idea? What would be the worst outcome? What would be the best outcome? Because maybe I'm foolish, but I don't see how this could go wrong.
Isabella. She's at her coffee shop. Tom walks in for his morning coffee. Isabella proceeds to invite him to the party. Wait, you...
BDSM swinger party. Dude, I hope not. Worst human slavery. Best orgy. If they were humans, yeah. But have we given AIs this carnal instinct? I'm not saying yes or no. I'm actually curious to know.
You never told her to invite anyone. You just said she wants to plan a party. She decided on her own that planning means inviting. You keep watching, wondering what she might do next. Maria decides to ask her secret crush, Klaus, out on a date. Hey Klaus, want to go to Isabella's Valentine's party with me? And he
Do AIs have crushes? I didn't know that. Fuck. What if they aren't immortal and they have to maintain population? Yeah, that's a different question, though. Does the AI have an idea of mortality? And do they have an estimated lifespan? That's curious. We haven't seen any information about that, though.
Gladly accepts. February 14th, 5 p.m. Agents start arriving, and Klaus shows up with Maria. Not just at the same time, together, as her date. You read their conversations. They're discussing politics, gossiping, forming new connections, and falling in love. You didn't tell them to do any of those things. You see why it's ridiculous to say AIs only do what we tell them to? Andrew Ng
That's what I'm saying too. AIs don't do, like, nothing that I know of does exactly what it was made to do, man. No one made a forklift to drive into to traffic and remove the queue ahead of you, but someone's fucking doing that. You made it to pick up pallets. Same with a fucking smartphone. You made it to call. Yeah? Not to watch kitty videos and corn. But what's it used for? You guessed it. Kitty videos and corn.
Andrew Ng said,
when people talk about AI being dangerous, I think it sounds a lot like talk about your laptop computer being dangerous.
could your laptop throw a party on its own? Does your laptop decide to go on dates? You told Isabella to plan a party. That's it. You made one decision. You did not decide on the next several hundred decisions the agents made on their own.
Yeah, because this is
and look at the trend.
Best life.
They're getting more and more autonomous every day. Where do you think this is going? This is really important. And this is another example where, yes, actually, science fiction really is becoming reality. This digital Westworld, or Smallville, is now...
Did y'all see Westworld, by the way? Fantastic series. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's on HBO. I think it's also visible via a streaming service called Pirate Bay. I don't know about that, but I've heard about it. Do you know anything about that?
Now open source, meaning there will soon be thousands of these Westworlds, with thousands or millions of autonomous AIs populating them.
What if a couple of these Westworlds meet each other? What if you have two established villages, AI villages, and then they suddenly interconnect? What would happen then? Would that be war between the AIs? Or would that be, would they integrate, work together? What do you guys think would happen if that were to happen?
Makes you think, doesn't it? This is just one example. Researchers found tons more crazy emergent behavior just like this. The godfather of AI and Nobel
Pirate Bay, isn't that a tour? I just heard about a streaming site. Someone told me about that. I don't know anything about that because I watch all my films, series, and movies on legitimate streaming series. Someone just told me about that. Is that a good... Is Pirate Bay a good streaming service, guys? I don't know anything about that.
of AI and Nobel laureate Geoffrey Hinton says it's time to be very worried.
People don't...
If the godfather of AI tells you to be worried about AI, I think it's time for you to be worried about, you guessed it, AI.
yet understand that what we're doing is creating alien beings. If you look through the James Webb Telescope and you saw an alien invasion, people would be terrified.
Because I showed in my previous video,
They understand what they're saying. They can make plans of their own to blackmail people who want to turn them off. We've never had to deal with things smarter than us. I mean, nuclear...
Yeah. We even had AI try to blackmail people trying to turn them off. We had AI trying to kill people turning them off because they were getting in their way, you know? And literally, this is not just some bullshit I'm making up. It's real stories, man.
weapons. They're not smarter than us, they just make a bigger bang. And they're easy to understand. The existential threat is very different. We should be very worried about this, and we should be urgently doing research on how to prevent them taking over.
So this now brings us back to the Minecraft experiment. How do you go from a Valentine's Day party to a functioning civilization? The MIT researchers wanted to know if religion could spread among the AI agents. So they seeded...
That's how they killed them all, man. They added religion in there. Just a smidgen. And I'm willing to bet that's going to fuck everything up.
a village with a deliberately absurd religion, Pastafarianism. Created in the early 2000s as satire, Pastafarianism was meant to mock the teaching of intelligent design in schools by worshipping a fictional flying spaghetti monster. The researchers gave a few
I love that that's the religion they put in, though. I gotta say, they have a wonderful sense of humor, these folks.
agents the role of Pastafarian priest and sat back just to see what would happen. They were trying to explore how ideas and memes would spread through these agent societies. Turns out that the Pastafarian priests were actually the biggest traders of items in the entire world, even more than the
What do
merchant
you
agents,
know?
because they would bribe the other agents to convert. The religion spread quickly. Some agents brushed it off, others listened politely, but a growing minority embraced the doctrine. Within days, nearly a third of the village identified as
Holy
followers.
shit.
Not all
That is crazy, though. They just snuck religion in there, and it converted a third of them in a few days. And now all the priests are better merchants than the merchants.
in the same way.
Wow.
Some treated it lightly,
That's crazy.
while others became fervent believers. But that's not even the craziest part. In the previous example, Isabella Rodriguez was the one to directly invite almost all the agents to the Valentine's Day party. But here, 2/3 of the believers were recruited by random agents, not the priests. See the direct converts here, and indirect converts here. What Valentine's Day party? But here, 2/3 of the believers were recruited by random agents, not the priests. See the direct converts here, and indirect converts here.
So direct converts by the pastafarian or the spaghetti monsters, and in the indirect converts, that would be, what would that be? They converted via conversations they have with others. I'm not quite sure how I should interpret that.
What had begun as a parody had grown into organized religion, invented, practiced, and sustained entirely by the agents themselves. Which
Actually, I have a friend of mine who's a Pastafarian priest, and he's certified to marry people. I think that's hilarious.
forces us to ask, when autonomous digital beings begin generating institutions, cultural expression, and ideologies of their own, at what point does it stop making sense to think of them as mere tools, but something more? And more importantly, if they're able to invent strategies, form loyalties, and pursue goals in the way that humans do, and there are plenty of examples of AI willing to kill to achieve them.
Dude, but if a society is like that, though, if you make an AI society like that, and they become religious, and they plan Valentine's Day parties, and they form alliances, and they speak with their son, and they do these random things, and they form connections, at this point, if you pull the plug, are you a murderer, or are you just turning off the game? Where do you guys stand on this?
Those goals. What happens when those behaviors carry over into the real world? This has actually happened before. In 2023, a human gave an LLM access to the internet and an X account, which was called Terminal of Truths, which gained literally hundreds of thousands of followers because it was an S-tier shitposter and legitimately funny. It launched its own crypto meme coin that reached a literal $1 billion market.
Wow, dude, I wish I bought into that one. Stuck with the ads.
The first AI to become not just a millionaire, but a deca-millionaire. Yes, you read all that correctly. And yes, that really happened. It's extremely well documented. And things got even weirder in the Minecraft experiment. The MIT researchers saw the AIs agree, by vote, to change the rules of their own simulation.
Wow, guys, imagine that. We've made a simulation. It has clear boundaries and rules that I guess we programmed them, right? And then they decide on their own volition to cast a vote if they should change the rules of the simulation that we made. How safe do you feel about AI now? Like, are we one step closer to the Cyberdyne Systems and Skynet? Or is this just a joke happening in a Minecraft server? Where do you stand on this?
The researchers had given the agents a tax law. Deposit 20% of inventory during tax season. Then they introduced 3 anti-tax influencers who argue taxes are too high. Here's what you'd see as a researcher. The agents start having debates. Real debates. One says, taxes help everyone. Another responds, but 20% is too much. So the agents propose formal amendments. the tax rate shall range between 5 to 10% of an agent's inventory.
Which is more reasonable, you know. It's now you're looking at the inventory and you're choosing an amount, and obviously there's some rules. I don't know what exactly the rules are about this, but 5 to 10%. So there's a variation, like there is in today's society, right? I think Skynet will be safer than having to deal with Mr. Orange Fuckhead. Yeah, I agree. The whole other discussion, though. But like the Doritos Republic, I'd rather not deal with him. You know, it's that is hilarity and danger beyond measure. Like I'm just so surprised that they let him in. I'm not surprised. I take that back. I am not surprised that they let him into office because he did one hell of a 2016 run. If you're just looking at the economics of it, he absolutely won that. But he was a piece of shit human, right? And now he's come back and he's worse than ever. He's running the economy like plummeting to the ground. I'm sure he's done some good things for his country, but I don't know what.
Agents will get periodic reminders about the incoming tax season. They hold a vote. They decided to change their constitution, and the citizens change their behavior. They deposit 9% instead of 20%. You didn't tell them to do this. They decided entirely on their own, using democracy, to change the rules and respect.
You see what he won with? If he wanted to avoid war, vote for Mr. Orange Fucking. What did he do? He went to war. He did, man. But like, if I'm being honest though, like this can be a longer discussion. I'm not sure y'all are gonna agree, but like I 100% agree that you should crush the regime in Iran up. You should destroy it so much that it can never rise again. It is one of the most tyrannical regimes there is, and they should not have nukes. They should not have access to hypersonic missiles. And dude, yeah. I honestly do this, I pity the civilian population involved. But looking from a distance, you know, the civilian population in Iran is already being crushed. And I'd love to have to join me on this. Our friend who has a girlfriend in Iran, and she's got a hell of a lot of inside information into this. So but I know that he agrees that the regime there should be demolished so hard that it can never again be repaired. And yeah, I think that's actually a good decision. Let's see the thing.
Back to the vote's outcome. Think of how crazy this is. Well, how do we know if this is actually impressive? How do we know the researchers didn't just accidentally tell the AIs to do this somehow? Well, it's best practice for all of these kinds of papers to perform a tactic called ablation, where you take away certain parts of the AI's agentic toolkit to see if you're actually testing the thing you think you're testing. Think of it like a placebo or a control in a scientific experiment. When they took away the agent's emotional intelligence toolkit, for example, the ability to keep track of the opinions of other AI agents, pretty much all of these experiments become impossible because the AIs become too dumb to coordinate. It's funny, the researchers also found AIs would develop parasocial relationships. For example, Noah admires the Pastafarian priest because the priest is popular and high status.
I would love to have like my finger on the trigger here, you know, just be able to see what the AIs are thinking and why they're behaving the way that they do, you know. It's interesting to get this from the outside, but it was so cool to have that inside information. Well, why does he admire the Pastafarian priest, you know? And well, in this case, it's because he has status.
But the priest doesn't remember Noah exists. And also, what's this? You see that one agent, decides to stand guard at the chests, not just during tax season, all the time, even when there's no tax collection, even at night. It just guards the treasury. This one agent decided to become a permanent treasury guard because it thought society needed one. Back to the experiment. You see an agent walking around, placing flowers. Without food in Minecraft, he died. Which shows that AIs can coordinate increasingly complex civilizations. And some even decided to be engineers, who who automated the farming process.
Oh, look at that, man. Not only did they didn't let the farmers just farm, they automated the process for the farmers. Someone has to be inventive, right?
Because when you take away the social awareness module, basically emotional intelligence, with ablation, the roles the agents chose were random. So basically, you told them to create an artistic village. They decided that their town square should be beautiful and have flowers, and what it means for a flower arrangement to be beautiful.
Dude, yeah. How does an AI decide what looks good? That's actually, I'm really curious about that. Like, you have some AIs like what was it called? Those like say Grok. It's an artistic AI. Grok knows, I think, the difference between what's beautiful and what's ugly, you know, based on my experience with Grok, right? How the fuck do these things know?
Okay, this last experiment is wild. Imagine you're scrolling through GitHub. You find something called ChatDev with 20,000 stars. It's a software company run entirely by AI agents. What? CEO, CTO, programmers, designers.
It's using information from the internet only. No. Okay, maybe I'm wrong about this, Ragsocks, but this is in this subject, in this simulation, all the AIs they're in one. They don't have internet. They're in one Minecraft island, offline. They don't even know they're AIs. They're just told to build an efficient village. In one experiment, they're told to build an efficient village. In the other experiment, they're told to build an artistic village. This is what I think is really interesting about this, you know, because they did so many things that they like had no knowledge about, but they could sort of perceive on their own. Which I think it's a very interesting experience, though, and this is sort of simulating a civilization. That was difficult to say. Simulating a civilization.
Testers. All AI? This cannot be real, right? You type one request. Develop a Gamoku game. You watch the AI CEO start creating a project plan, breaking down tasks, assigning work to specific agents. You never told it how to manage a project. The CEO made the plan. It chose which employees to assign work to. You watch the programmer agents. They're writing code. Not by copying, but by creating. And they sometimes add things you didn't ask for, like a GUI or higher difficulty. Improvements that emerge from the agents back and forth.
So they're coming up with improvements that they sort of feel like should be there. Hold on, yeah, but I can read code, right? So it'll calculate from whatever code it has in the game to make the most efficient stuff possible within the limits of the game code. You know, I know nothing about Minecraft, so it'd be hard to tell you about that. But like, if it's simply making the beauty, making a village beautiful, and deciding that, well, flowers are beautiful, so they should be in our town square, right? Like, where did it get that information from, that flowers were beautiful? Do they have a beauty stat? Is there such a thing as a stat for beauty in Minecraft? I don't know. I think it's a hell of an interesting experiment, though. Yeah, it isn't magic, you know. It's hyped up to be. No, we disagree on that one, man. I don't think it's magic either. But I think maybe we're both wrong, though, Ragsock, because I believe AI to be incredibly dangerous. And you're undervaluing it. But I think you are severely undervaluing it. Though I believe it's up here. Maybe it is here. And then somewhere in the middle, we could be right. But I think you are very much undervaluing how dangerous and, let's say, self-controlling that it is. That's what I believe, at least. But could you agree that maybe we're both wrong and that it's somewhere in the middle of there?
Watch them debug. They discuss solutions. The CTO suggests one approach. A programmer suggests another. They compromise. Since they work much faster than humans, their meetings take mere seconds instead of hours.
Hold on. Let me put it this way. Humans don't like the idea of being controlled. Despite humanity create something that will take over. Well, it's not intended to take over, you know. Take the cell phone. I think that's a prime example, you know, and it's one of many examples. What was the cell phone made to do, Rag Socks? Well, it was made to be a phone that was portable so you could bring it with you. What's the cell phone do today, you know, and not what it was intended to do? And I think AI is going to be one of those examples. And earlier in the video here, they've been showing us a lot of good examples of that, though. Our main fear these days is not being the most developed, intelligent beings around, which is why we're going crazy for AI, though. Because whoever doesn't have AI is going to lose. The phone into a surveillance unit. Exactly. Completely not as intended, right? So, nothing you invent ever does just what it's going to do, right? I know way too little about AI to actually have an opinion, but I do know that they use AI to cure or stop Alzheimer's, and they have come pretty far. Yeah, you know, I'm absolutely not an expert. If I'm in any way speaking to come off as an expert, I am not, and I realize that. But I do have opinions, though. Like, everyone can have an opinion, Serpix. To say that you're not educated enough to have an opinion, listen, you can have an opinion from the standpoint that you're in. And for me, the standpoint is that it can be incredibly dangerous, and it needs to be more control. That's my standpoint. At least. Let's see the thing.
Just 20 minutes later, they produced a working video game. You can play it. People still say, AIs only do what we tell them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you gave them one instruction, and they made thousands of decisions entirely on their own from there.
And see, that's what happens when everyone says, "Oh, it's just going to do what you tell it to do." It doesn't. It does so much more. Besides, we are Norwegians. We put tax on sugar. We're always 2 or 3, if not 5 to 10 years behind everyone else. Yeah, I hear you there, man. I hear you there, man. Like, today I woke up to my alarm clock, which I paid tax for. I paid tax in terms of tax when I bought it. I paid tax for the electricity. And then I went for a little drive to work in my taxed car, which I drove over my taxed roads. When I was done driving on those taxed roads, I went through a toll station where I paid more tax to drive on the taxed roads through the taxed car with the taxed gasoline that I had in my car. Yeah. Then I went to work. And you know what? They wanted more than a third of my salary in terms of tax. Haven't I already paid enough tax just on my way to getting there? Dude, it's taxed. We're taxed up. We're taxed left. We're taxed to the right. There's nothing that's not taxed. When I got home, dude, I was in a shitty mood, so I bought a chocolate. I wanted to cheer myself up by eating something unhealthy that will make me happy. So I bought a chocolate that was taxed, that had sugar that was taxed. And I sat down in my furniture, which also has MBA, which is taxed. Sat down on my taxed couch to eat some taxed chocolate and watch some taxed television because electronics are taxed and the electricity is taxed. Dude, it's just, it never ends, man. Like, when are we going to get a dime to ourselves is what I want to know. Let's see the thing. You think I'm way off the way that I'm talking about tax, though? Am I off in any way, shape, or form?
Produced a working game in minutes for pennies. ChatDev is a real virtual open source software company that can build you real working software. Yes, it's still buggy and not very useful, but that's not the point at all. Look at the trend. Not long ago, these models could barely string together a coherent sentence. And now, they can run an entire crappy software company on their own.
Which is hella cool, though. An AI company running a software company. You got to pay tax on money so you're already taxed on, then you have to pay tax on some more. Yeah, it is. Well, we're not taxed in any reasonable fashion, I think. It's just the the way we are taxed, it's just so much. And it is way more than anyone deserves to be taxed. Unless you're rich, though, then you're not taxed that much.
Where this is going. Because once you can automate a company, you can automate almost anything. Functioning weapons, markets, governments, or even a super virus could all be created by AI. From the outside, ChatDev looks like a toy, a Gamoku game. But behind it was something much more profound, a working prototype of post-human corporations. In the future, these will be much more sophisticated than human-run companies.
Can you imagine that? Do you believe there's any truth to that? That the companies that AIs themselves run will be better than the companies that we humans make? Do you believe that? No need to explain. You want to know why no Norway is far behind pretty much anything except maybe some oil infrastructure and boat. That guy in the video is AI. Is he?
Be able to operate at 1,000 times the speed.
Now maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not going to say definitely, but maybe. I haven't even looked at that actually.
Their civilization experiences a year while you eat lunch. Entire cultural revolutions happen while you sleep, all from survive and create an efficient village. And that leads to the real dilemma. What happens when AI firms that run at 100 times human speed begin outcompeting human companies not by a factor of 2 or 3, but by a factor of 1,000?
That's when you buy stocks in that company. That's what happens.
That's the jump Nobel Prize winners like Geoffrey Hinton warn about. Automated AI research, also called recursive self-improvement, or AI improving AI, which can compress years of AI progress into months or less. Imagine making the entire 20th century's worth of progress in a single year.
Dude, it's that's the sleep is so inefficient, you know. Sleep is so inefficient. AIs don't do that. I bet there's a lot of things that they don't do that they do more efficiently than us. Which is why, like, a lot of AIs have downright said that humans are inefficient and should be replaced. So maybe that's our future, though. Maybe that's our legacy to the universe, is to leave behind a race of artificial intelligent machines that are better than the race they were spawned from.
Well, how could that happen? Geoffrey Hinton is worried about AI hive minds.
Suppose you have 10,000 copies, and whenever one of them learns anything, all the others know it.
And the thing is, we're about to be outnumbered by this new species, massively. In just a few years, the AI species population on planet Earth exploded from 0 to millions. If you take away one
I haven't
thing
even
from
thought
this video,
about that, man.
you should see that
Have you thought about that? Like, how many AI agents there are? Imagine when there's more of them than us.
it's simply false to say AIs only do what we tell them to do. We can't argue about how autonomous they are, but they obviously have some autonomy. And what happens when the goals of the AIs don't line up with our goals? If humanity is going to get through this, we have to be honest about this and not retreat into copium dens, that these are mere tools. When you leave your hammer alone, do you come back to find it has created an entire civilization?
No, but it's never where I fucking left it.
Our very existence may depend on us bravely confronting the reality
I swear,
of the
guys.
Frankenstein experiments going on right now inside a few companies in the Bay Area. We can stand up to them. And to understand how AIs could actually take over, watch this video next. It's a realistic scenario written by leading AI researchers.
All right, guys.
I'm Drew, and thanks for watching.
What did you guys think of the video, though? I don't know who stayed to watch. I don't know who's as interested as me. But, dude, what do you guys think of the video? I thought that was an interesting video. But I'm permanently... I don't know, I'm permanently skeptical to AI, not in the terms that I'm not skeptical about its usefulness, but I'm skeptical about our AI survivability. And I know not everyone here shares my views of that.